Okay. I'm here a day late. It's okay, right? The full moon was yesterday. I was on my way back home from a spring break trip with my children, and it was fun. We were out in the national park wilderness. We went to Joshua Tree National Park and communed with the trees and Death Valley and lots of crazy places. But both of my little girls have Sagittarius moons. Have Sag moon, will travel. We do travel. And we travel safely, FYI. So that's what I was doing. So that's why I'm a day late with this full moon in Libra report. But that's okay because the moon's still in Libra. And I made it right before the moon goes void of course. So let me explain a little bit about a void of course moon. So the moon is about to be what is termed as void of course. That means it's not making any aspects to any other planets. So we're about to come up on the moon square Pluto, which is its last aspect before it goes void of course. Now, it's traditionally believed in astrology that most things undertaken during a void of course moon don't really come to fruition. That's the traditional explanation of it. So that's why I was rushing to try to do this report before the moon went void of course, and I made it. So the full moon in Libra, let's talk about it. Libra is balance. We'll do all the keywords, right? Libra is balance, friendship, relationships in general. It's beauty, peace, harmony, all of these beautiful Venusian ideals. That is what Libra embodies. So generally on a full moon, which is a culmination or letting go or a climax, you could look at it several different ways. It's the brightest light reflecting, is a time to, it is a time to reflect yourself, but it generally is a completion of the new moon, which we had in Pisces. So the interesting thing about these new and full moon cycles right now is that they're out of sign. So the new moon in Pisces happened, and then the full moon is in Libra. Libra and Pisces don't really understand each other. So that's what's so interesting about this full moon coming to fruition from the new moon in Pisces. The new moon in Pisces was dreamy. It was filled with our fantasies and inspirations and musings and all of the Piscean, maybe some disillusionment or illusion in Pisces. That was what we were setting our intentions in. So when the full moon happens in Libra, which is balance and harmony, we may have been sort of brought back to reality from that new moon in Pisces. And that's sort of what I'm experiencing. And there's all kinds of different reasons for that. But yeah, how do we balance this? We set the intention for these great dreams. Maybe had some rose-colored glasses on during the new moon in Pisces, which was 2 weeks ago. So this full moon in Libra is bringing up how do I make that work with others in my life, with the relationships I have. And that's just the general full moon in Libra feeling. So when the moon is in Libra, that means the sun is opposite in Aries. There's a special thing going on with this Aries sun right now, and yesterday during the full moon, which is that Venus and the dwarf planet Chiron were both co-present. That means they were all together. It was the Venus Cazimi just before this full moon, and they were all 8 degrees of Aries. So the Aries is strong right now, which makes the healing strong, which makes the wounds sensitive. Because if you're healing a wound, generally that's not comfortable. Sometimes it's itchy, sometimes it's sore, sometimes it's all kinds of different things. So what is this Chiron in Aries wounding? It is a wounding of the right to exist, the right to be authentic, the right to have your desires met. That is what wounding we are healing right now. So issues of, I don't feel like people accept me, could be happening. Now you have the other equal and opposite, which is I'm just going to be more out there than I ever have been, and sort of push through this wound. Both of those things are happening. So the right to exist, right? The right to be your authentic self. That is what light this full moon in Libra was reflecting. So it is about us and who we are and how that fits in with our relationships and how we fit in with our relationships and how we can exist authentically in them. And relationships can be friendships, they can be romantic, they can be business partnerships, they can be all sorts of different things. So this is an extremely healing full moon as well, but also a little bit sensitive because of that Chiron being opposite. And then Venus being there with Chiron has this flare, extra flare of relationships. And it could be a little bit of, I want what I want, and I don't care what you think, and the balancing of that. So do we get what we want? Do we just, push for that? How do we compromise with others? Definitely a big deal here. So there's some more stuff happening, like always. And the fact that Mars is in Gemini, Mars is kind of a troublemaker. Mars rules Aries. Mars is the warrior. Mars gets what he wants. And so in Gemini, Mars is acting a little bit like the trickster. And then we have Mercury and Pisces. Thank goodness it leaves on Saturday. Mercury in Pisces is a lot like a retrograde. Mercury does not like being in Pisces. It's kind of spaced out and dreamy, airy, all of these different things. And the thing about Mercury and Mars right now is that by sign, they are square. They were square last week. They are not getting along. So Mercury and Pisces, it's like agape love and spirituality and creativity and letting go and escapism. And Mercury and Gemini is the trickster who sort of takes advantage of that. So it could be quite frustrating as well over the last week. And this full moon could have added to that. Hopefully it was a culmination and then resulted in some peace, because that sort of was what I felt was this build of energy all last week. Frustration. Could be just that it was my time of the month, but I felt it. So I don't, you guys are gonna have to tell me how this last week went for you. And then the full moon was a little bit of a release for me, a little bit of I can let go a little bit. Now, I don't think that the big story is this full moon in Libra. Honestly, this next week seems a little quiet. There are a few moments. So I'm going to go through the week because I think that's going to be important to look at right now. Okay, so let's just start with yesterday, which was the full moon. And I told you about all of what was going on. Mars and Gemini, which, by the way, is an air sign, and the full moon in Libra was an air sign, and the moon still being in Libra. So a lot of air going on right now. Jupiter and Saturn also being in the mix. It was a grand air trine. Lots of which way do I go? Lots of pivoting. I feel like air can move and pivot really fast. Lots of communication, lots of thinking. Great, except Mercury being in Pisces. Now today, Mercury is hitting Neptune. Neptune is not like a wall. I don't know why I did that. Neptune is the fog. So this Mercury in Pisces is even more amplified today, which can feel quite spiritual and quite wonderful, but it can also feel confusing and spacey, and sometimes that's not fun. So if you want to harness this Mercury Neptune energy, I would suggest meditation, creativity, all of those beautiful things. So let's go ahead and go forward. I hope my music's not too loud back here. This music is put together by Lee Jeffrey. You can find it on SoundCloud. He's awesome. Okay, so tonight the moon goes void, of course, which means it doesn't make any other aspects for a minute. And then it moves into Scorpio. The thing about Scorpio right now is that it activates everything in Aquarius and everything in Taurus. It's called the fixed Grand Cross. So anything in Leo as well, if you have any of those signs. So anytime the moon hits one of these signs, these fixed signs, we're going to have this activation happen. And the moon will eventually come to oppose Uranus tomorrow. Let's see what time. Probably about 2 p.m. if I had to guess. It is. That's when it reaches 8 degrees. The number 8 is big right now, which makes sense since Venus is big right now, and 8 is a Venus number. I love synchronicities like that. All right, so the moon reaches 8 degrees around 1:58 p.m. Central Time. I'm just giving general times here. And it opposes Uranus. Now, this can be emotional upheaval, but it could also be opportunities from out of the blue. Uranus and Taurus is having us shift our perspectives and what we value, and the moon in Scorpio is going to say, how do I share myself with others? So relationships are taking on this big energy right now. If you've had fights with your partner, if you've had spats or tense moments, this is why. We had a lot of this full moon in Libra activating relationships, and then we've had now coming up the moon opposing Uranus activating relationships, even with our family, tomorrow, Tuesday. So I would, around the middle of the day, start looking for this and maybe emotional awareness of where you need freedom in your life, maybe where you're giving too much or taking too much to occur. It'll be a brief moment. Rick Levine says, we're not in a mood, we're in a moon, because the moon governs our moods. It goes very fast. So that is probably the biggest story tomorrow. I'm just looking at the other stuff to make sure I'm not missing too much. So I would expect a little bit of a challenge midday tomorrow, especially with also the moon coming into a square with Saturn around tomorrow evening, which is like a wall, an obstacle. If I'm basically coming into this emotional awareness, if I need these things, if I want these things, what is holding me back from it? What are my boundaries? What are the rules for especially attaining our goals and for the people we have around us? So let's look at Wednesday. Oh, and Jupiter does move to the 23rd degree Tuesday. Every degree change of an outer planet, like Jupiter, is going to activate a little bit of a different energy. So I think Tuesday will feel a little shifty, not in a bad way necessarily, but definitely some awareness changing. So Wednesday, Uranus moves to the 9th degree on Wednesday. So these degree changes matter, especially for outer planets, like I said. So it's interesting that the moon opposes Uranus right before it changes degrees. So the moon being in Scorpio, Uranus being in Taurus. So the moon moves through Scorpio mostly through Wednesday, and then it changes into Sagittarius. So here's the thing about the moon moving into Sagittarius. This activates the mutable signs. Right now, that means Mars and Neptune and Mercury. We also have the asteroid Vesta in Virgo, which is a mutable sign. And I think that she really keeps the fires burning in terms of our healing practices, our routines, our health, even our discernment. So I would maybe call on Vesta around Thursday and Friday, because when the moon moves into Sagittarius, which is generally optimistic, it hits the South Node, which I would not say is so optimistic. The South Node is karmic past, our baggage, but also you can say talents that we bring in from past lives. So you don't want to make it all bad, but it definitely holds a lot of weight. So anytime the moon hits these places, pay attention. And then it'll oppose Mars. Anytime the moon is opposite Mars, expect emotional reactivity. You can harness that for motivation. So I would maybe pay attention to that on Thursday. That's a nice thing we get out of the whole deal. The other thing about the moon being in Sagittarius Thursday and Friday, Thursday morning through Friday evening, is that Sagittarius is a fire sign. So we do have Sagittarius working with all of the Aries placements right now, which includes Chiron and our healing, and the sun, our life force, and Venus, what we love and what we value, and our relationships with people. And so I think in that way, it will be a kind of a double-edged sword, because you get that benefit of this fire, and then Mars and Gemini sort of feeding that fire, and maybe not so much in a great way. I think that just depends on you and your own chart, how this will play out. But I would watch out for trickster energy, especially Thursday. So the thing about Friday going into Saturday, the moon switches into Capricorn. This is getting toward the third quarter square of this Pisces new moon cycle. So the third quarter, any of the squares of the moon, you can see them in the sky. If you go look at the moon, the new moon, no moon, dark, can't see it. The first quarter square is a half moon. So anytime the moon is half, think in your mind adjustment. The first quarter square is the first initial adjustment from the new moon. The third quarter square is the finishing up adjustment. And that's what we're dealing with on Saturday. The moon in Capricorn is also going to bring up a lot of anything that happened in 2020. There was so much Capricorn energy. So I would just expect that. The cardinal squares are not exactly fun either. So I'm not saying the weekend's going to be bad. What I am saying is to watch for an adjustment, especially concerning structures, how you build your life, how you draw boundaries, your foundations. Also things surrounding career and public recognition and rules. That's going to be Saturday. That's the last adjustment. So the new moon in Pisces, I want my dreams to come true. The full moon in Libra, does this work with everyone in my life? The third quarter square in Capricorn is, okay, now what are the rules? So then Saturday evening is sort of celebration time, I'm going to call it, because Mercury leaves Pisces. This is not Pisces hate. I have a Pisces moon. This is Mercury just is hard Pisces energy. Now, we're lucky because this year we didn't get a Mercury retrograde in Pisces. We had that a lot last year. So there's that, at least. However, I just have not, especially with Mars and Gemini square this Mercury, it's not been fun. It's been sort of push-pull. I don't know which way to go. I'm confused. I want to let go. I want to escape. And Mars over there being the trickster. Just oof. So, Mercury moves into Aries Saturday night. And what do we get? We get a little more motivation. We get a little more gumption, a little more oomph. And that's Central Time, of course. It's late, it's after 11. But I would expect a little more of a sharp mental process starting when Mercury moves into Aries. Now, the thing about that is it's also going to touch Chiron eventually, and Venus and the sun. Mercury is just moving right on along before it goes retrograde. So just looking to see anything else that is happening this week. Yeah, and this is, I guess, sort of a quiet. Sunday is fairly quiet other than the moon hitting Pluto. But again, that's just a mood. It's not really a lasting thing. It generally is just a very quick deal. Now, Monday, the April 5th, the moon moves into Aquarius. We have Saturn and Jupiter there. So topics like the future, our tribe, come up for Monday and Tuesday. And I would also expect Tuesday, the 6th, to be quite big and busy. The moon hits Jupiter on Tuesday, which is big feelings. And in Aquarius, that is eagle's eye, bird's eye view, right? The big picture. And it also trines Mars. So Mars is our ego, and in Gemini, it's our ego is sort of thinking and moving around. So the trickster energy is pretty heavy Tuesday, April 6th. I will say that. Lots of thinking, lots of doing. I expect things, especially with Mercury moving into Aries this Saturday night. I would expect things to start to really pick up. If you have a business, if you work, if you're doing anything out in the world, things are going to start to get busier starting April 6th, if not already. But definitely starting April 5th and 6th and beyond. Mercury moving into Aries is going to pump things up. The moon hitting Jupiter on Tuesday, trining Mars is going to pump things up. And that's when things start to get exciting if they weren't before. So that's the big story Monday and Tuesday. And then on Thursday, April 8th, Mars is starting to get closer to that exact trine with Jupiter. You have to watch this specific transit, I would say. Trines are great. Trines are generally looked at as beneficial and supportive. The thing about a trine with Mars and Jupiter, though, is excess. So excess information, because Mars is in Gemini, excess trickster energy, maybe thinking you can take on more than you really can. So just temper that urge to go out and do and take on the world on around this time. So I'm going to give it a 2 to 3 degree orb, and let's say Thursday, April 8th. It's exact on Thursday, April 15th. So actually, no, I'm sorry. It's exact on Friday, April 16th. And the moon will be there with Mars. So yeah, we're talking about like a whole week full of stuff. Okay. So that being said, let's look at the new moon in Aries. That's April 11th. And that's going to conclude that look at the next couple of weeks, because I will come back for the new moon in Aries. So I think I covered pretty much all of the big stuff. Thursday, April 8th. Also is Mercury conjunct Chiron, which is more of this healing in terms of our right to exist and our authentic self, and just really being who we are. Not putting on any airs. Mercury conjunct Chiron in Aries is going to have people just want to be themselves. So if you're surprised by the behavior of anyone, I would expect everyone to just be pushing for what they need, what they want, who they are authentically, and speaking their truth around this time, especially with Mars trine Jupiter coming into play. So I would say things are pretty quiet through then. But yeah, definitely Saturday night picking up. So next week's the busier week. This week, pretty quiet, considering how the astrology has been. All right, so the other thing that I do want to talk about is that I'm doing a sale very soon. So watch out for that on my Instagram and Facebook pages, because I like to do that for the springtime. Usually I do it seasonally. And that'll be coming at you pretty soon. Probably when I go ahead and upload this video, I'll put it up and make the sale go live on my booking site. So just watch for that. If you want to know where all of this affects you in your chart, getting a session is the best way to do that. I really appreciate you guys. Sorry I came to you a day late, but And $1 short, probably. Day late, $1 short. Ain't that right? I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Enjoy the quietness. It doesn't mean you won't have some moments of, moods. Let's put it that way. I think I've covered all those. But it should be fairly quiet up until next week. Now, next week gets busy. And that's when I expect to get busy as well, because this all works together. All right, you guys. Talk to you soon. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Now let's see how I end this. Okay, end. Bye.